Hello my beautiful butterflies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beverley and it is lovely to see you today. In this video we're going to be sitting down and doing a book review of The Witch's Path. So grab that cup of tea, let's get to it. So we're back with another book review. I have spoken recently about my struggles with depression and how it's affected my reading this year, and I'm kind of trying to pick up the pieces right now of my reading life. I was a very prolific reader before, but you know, we work with where we are, and that's why this book was a really good book to get back to reading with. This is The Witch's Path, Advancing Your Craft at Every Level by Thorn Mooney. I will, as always, leave a link to this book down in the description. And I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about this book and also how it's affected my craft as I've been reading. So I'm really excited to get to that. But before I do, don't forget, if you're new here, you can click the subscribe button to become part of the butterfly family. We would absolutely love to have you here. Don't forget to leave me a cheeky like and a comment, and also check out the description for my Ko-fi link. This is a way you can leave me a little tip or a little bit of money each month, or as a one-off payment. Anything is gratefully received and helps me to do things like this review, because then I can buy books and other things. But let's get to it, shall we? So this book was really good. It came into my life when I needed a break. I needed to just have a little break. Scream, we were on a break across the living room, because witchcraft had kind of got to a point where I felt very stagnated, like I didn't know how to move forwards. I had moved from beginner to intermediate witch in quite a smooth way, to the point where I didn't even notice I was still calling myself a beginner or a baby witch, when friends were telling me, no, actually the way you talk, you're probably more intermediate. And so I hadn't noticed myself move from one to the other, and then I felt really stagnated and stuck in one place. And then this came up on my feed. I think it was the author talking about the book coming out, and I thought, I've got to get it, so I pre-ordered it. And this book was perfect. I had taken a month off my witchcraft practice in September, and so I felt like sitting down and starting this book about getting back on the path, getting back to reading, getting back to all these things. This was the perfect book, and it really was. It's such a well-written book. It's so easy to connect with. It's written in a way that is very conversational. I feel like I'm listening to somebody just sitting talking to me, rather than reading like a textbook. Like some witchcraft books can feel very textbooky. Is that a word? It is now. But this book is not like that, and it's very easy to connect with. They talk quite often about how they feel like they don't know how to move forward in their path. They felt very stagnated. They'd made assumptions about witchcraft and brought those assumptions into their craft. Like suddenly they're going to be able to see everything and feel everything, and everything would be magical and wonderful and beautiful, and just like everybody talks about. The reality sometimes is different, and we put too much pressure on ourselves quite often. And I really enjoyed the fact that they were talking in this way about how the reality of witchcraft and what we can imagine or what we see in movies and TV, very different things. I found that really interesting and really spoke to me, because for a long time I felt the same. I felt like, oh my gosh, I am not a real witch. I am not good enough, because I don't always feel the magic floating through the air. I don't always, I was always expecting to be able to see spirits standing in front of me, or to have a deity just come into my room, or whatever it was, because I've heard people speak in these terms. I've read books by people who've spoken about waking up one morning and there's an angel stood in their room and things like that, and I felt like, well, nothing like that's ever happened to me. I must be deficient in some way. And so this book really bringing things back to, we as witches actually only usually see spirit in our mind's eye, or in meditation, or if we're taking some kind of herbal help to get into a really deep trance. They talk quite often about that here in this book, and I really appreciated that. It really reminded me that we still are governed by our own talents, and we're all different. You know, what you can do and what I can do are two completely different things, and you shouldn't assume that everybody else who's saying they can see and do these things are telling the truth. They might just feel like they can't say, oh, actually, I didn't feel anything, because they'll feel like, well, that they're letting people down, or in fact that they are a failure. And so we tend to just go with the flow. Being more honest with yourself and honest with where you are in your craft is very, very important. And this is why this book was so good at such a good time in my life. It just seemed to be the perfect recipe for me to succeed. I will say that this person did start their craft in the 1990s and 80s, and they do often speak of the Wiccan Rede and Wiccan rituals, and you know, it's very Wiccan based. A lot of witchcraft books are. That's just the way it is. Wiccan, a lot of people think if you're a witch you have to be Wiccan, and it's not that way. However, if you are Wiccan, you do have to be a witch. It's very strange, and it's very much a religion that's based on witchcraft, and it sounds nice, but you have to do things in a very specific way, and a lot of it is closed practice, meaning you can't just go and pick up a book and start being Wiccan. You have to be brought into it, and you have to practice with others. And so because of the way we've moved on in society, there's a lot of people now who are solitary witches like myself, who have discovered they don't need religion in order to practice, and so less and less people are starting off with being Wiccan. And yet a lot of the older witches, a lot of crones, a lot of people who now we look up to and learning from in books such as this, they did start out with being Wiccan, or they still are Wiccan. And so a lot of witchcraft books are based in that faith. For that reason, I will just say this is very Wiccan based. There are things that they say in this book that I just don't understand what they're talking about, just because it's very much assuming that you know something about the Wiccan religion, which I don't. I'm an omnist, which means I believe that all faiths have a little bit of truth in them, but no one faith has all the truth, which basically means that I look for consistencies throughout all religions, and I bring those into my faith rather than just following a specific faith. I really enjoyed the fact that they talk very much about how we're all individuals, and to let go of those assumptions and things that we put into our practice because we've seen them on YouTube or on Instagram, we've heard people talk about them, we've read about them in books, and so we assume we have to do those things ourselves. For example, working with gods, you don't have to do it. Doing candle magic, you don't have to do it. You can have an altar if you want, you don't have to have one. Like, you can practice witchcraft in so many infinite ways now. We have so much information, like you can look up anything that you want to look up. Sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. I have talked about appropriation of other faiths and religions and trying to decolonize our practice. I'll find out those videos or blog posts or whatever they were. I know I've spoken about them before, I just can't remember where or when, so I will leave links down below anyway. But we now have access to almost too much information, but it means that we can find exactly what works for us. So just learning in this book that it's okay to change things up. It's okay to add something or take something away from your daily rituals. It's okay to do this thing but not do that thing. It's okay to do that but not that. And this lovely, they call it a pizza, a pagan pizza, I think, if I remember rightly, they referred to it as, that you can pick your own toppings. Witchcraft is the pizza base, and you can just kind of pick what you want to sprinkle on the top, and I love that. I love learning that it's okay to do things differently. It's okay to do my own thing and to work with my own deities and to not be so influenced by others. Growing up, and myself, very shy and probably autistic. I'm not been diagnosed, but I am, having done research, I'm more or less certain I have autism. And so growing up like that, I definitely learned to follow everybody else and to copy what everybody else was doing so I could fit in easier. Kind of like a little chameleon, just kind of changing my colours. depending on who I was with. It's a great way of blending into society and not sticking out, but it's also a great way to learn to be a people pleaser rather than a Beverley pleaser. And so this book was really good at just reminding me that my witchcraft practice is my own, and I can make of it what I will. If I want to work with crystals, I can, but I don't have to, you know? I can do whatever feels good to me, and I really, really love that. One of my favourite things about this book is the end of each chapter. Let me find it. So the end of each chapter, they have an exercise, as you can see here. And this exercise is to do with the chapter that you've just read. So for this one, it's about building a sacred space. And then they have 4 different things that you have to do. You have to do one of them. You've got to pick one. You can do all of them if you want, but you don't have to. So there's air, fire, water, and earth. And you pick one. And this one I picked earth. So for sacred space, let's read what I chose. Tools have a way of becoming invisible to us. When we use them for years, over and over, they sometimes lose the power to trigger the mental shift that working magic requires. This is especially true if you've been practicing for a long time, and especially if you're dealing with the weight of leading a coven, training students, or organising events for a community. This is doubly true if other people routinely handle your tools. Remember if you were a new witch and every freshly acquired tool and newly learned invocation was enough to push you into a magical mindset all by itself. Just the excitement of trying something new could energise you. When you get tired or stressed out and your magic work stagnates, it can be worthwhile to recapture the energy that accompanies novelty. So with this one, it was basically saying swap out your tools and try new things instead of the tools that you usually use. And so I chose that one. But there were other things as well, like one was about adding certain things to say, or trying special cleansing, or whatever it was. It's very practical and I enjoy that. I like it when I'm given a little challenge or a little something to do at the end. And what I liked about this is it was very much personalised. It would give you 4 choices and you could choose whichever one felt right for that time. And that is why this is quite a slow read. I have not finished it because I've been spending time doing the exercises at the end of each chapter, and I really, really got so much more out of the book because of that. I think if that part of it wasn't there, I wouldn't have enjoyed it quite so much or felt it inspire and change my practice quite as much as this book has. It is a really challenging book. It's a very reaffirming book. It's a book that pushes you out of your boundaries. It makes you step out of your comfort zone and try new things, and I really loved that. It was all about refreshing and shaking things up. This book is all about coming back to your practice with a new energy and a new interest, and that really inspired me so much. I found it so lovely to just feel that energy coming into my space. With that as well, in October I created my own witchcraft room. Again, I'll leave a link to that video down below because I did record the whole thing. But reading that book really inspired me doing that. It really inspired me finding new ways of setting up my altar, finding new ways of doing things. I'm even thinking of doing a separate altar just for my ancestors, and that's something I never would have thought of doing before. It all comes down to finding something new, to refresh, to step into a new place. I will definitely recommend this book to anybody who has reached kind of a place of boredom, shall I say, in your craft. If you're at a place where you don't really know what to do next, how to refresh things, you kind of have lost that kind of magical feeling when you're doing just your normal day-to-day things. This is the book for you. You need to get it if you want to find where to go next or how to refresh and change. This is the book. This is the book to do it. So I really enjoyed this. Would definitely 100% came into my life at just the right time, and I'm so grateful for that. Next month we're going to be reading Art Magic. This is How to Become an Art Witch and Unlock Your Creative Power by Molly Roberts. Now, I have said that here on the channel I'm going to start doing some witchcrafting, and I hope that you're going to join me with that. And this is full of different projects, art projects, crafting projects, to bring into your practice. So I'm really excited to read this and to then maybe next year try and make some of these amazing creations. It looks like such a good book to invigorate your practice, which goes very nicely with the book that I just reviewed with you. So I thought these two would be a good back-to-back, so I'll leave links to both of these books down in the description, so definitely go and head down there and check out the links. I really enjoyed making this video for you today. It was really cool. I've loved getting back into my craft again and refreshing it, changing it up, and I hope that you will start to see how my craft has changed here on the channel. So if you've got any questions about that, definitely leave them down below in the comments. And if you would like me to do more videos on how I've personally changed up my practice or the different ways that this book has challenged me, just let me know down there. Don't forget, while you're down there, leave this video a cheeky little like if you enjoyed it. I really hope that you did. I loved putting this together. And last but certainly not least, if you like my content and you like my face, don't forget to head down below, click that subscribe button, ring that little bell so you always know when I upload. I'm usually here Mondays and Fridays, my health permitting. I always try my very best to be here with you every week, twice a week. Take care, have a lovely, lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!